Hi, I'm Drew Brown, and we're sitting here with menswear designer Christopher Bates. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to sit with us. You are our very first designer that we're interviewing, so we really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So can you just tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into fashion?
Yeah, I've always been interested in fashion since I was a kid. I didn't really know that it was a career choice growing up in Vancouver. It wasn't until my mid-20s when I had done a couple trips to Europe when I saw that there is, this whole industry out there. There's a lot of people who would appreciate these ideas I've been having my whole life. So I decided it was time to do something about it. So I moved to Milan. I studied at Istituto Marangoni, and then I moved back to Vancouver to start my business. That was 5 years ago. And then I moved to Toronto 3 years ago to grow the business. And that's where I'm at today.
And who is the Christopher Bates man?
I think he kind of wants to be a bit like James Bond, but maybe he's a corporate guy, or he could have all different types of occupations. But I think he secretly wants to be a bit like James Bond. So he appreciates clothing. He has a cultivated sense of adventure in his life and his dress, and he likes to dress to impress.
Do you think your clothes reflect your own personal style? Like, do you have a little bit of James Bond in you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the character, so it certainly does, influence the type of designs that I create, and my own style is part of it for sure. My Fall 13 collection was titled Bright Lights Big City, and there wasn't really any obscure type of inspiration for it. It was just a very urban collection, and I focused on specific things, like, for example, doing a few coats that weren't in black, because I think that's something that's going to be important for next season. I just kind of started from there, and then I filled out the rest of the collection to fit.
Can you fill in the blank for me? To unwind after a collection, I like to...
You definitely want to have a few drinks with your friends.
Yeah.
Decompress.
Do you have a drink of choice? Like, do you have a martini straight up? Like,
beer.
Are you doing the Bond thing?
Beer.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not trying to be cool or anything.
Okay.
That's what I drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you define the current state of menswear, and where do you think it's going?
I think menswear has evolved pretty dramatically in the last 5 years, and now there's a lot more flair, and there's a lot more color, and the fits are getting more refined. So it's a great time for menswear, and I think it's just going to keep getting better. I mean, right now there's still a large part of the market that hasn't quite caught up. They're still wearing the older style fashion, because in menswear the trends kind of happen slowly. So there's still room to improve for most guys, so that's good news.
Okay. What would be your theme song, and why?
That's a really good question.
What do you think it would take for Toronto to become a strong fashion contender?
Time. Just time. I see that it is happening, but it's a process. I don't think it's can happen just overnight. I mean, if you look at the upcoming fashion capitals now, like Stockholm is a good example. They've had a great design scene there for a long time. So now they have recognition as a upcoming fashion capital in Berlin as well. It's been such a cool scene for so long. It was almost inevitable, and I think Toronto is, it's becoming more and more, interesting in itself. So I think with time that we will be more recognized as a fashion capital, or at least an emerging fashion capital.
What has been one of your biggest accomplishments thus far?
Well, being in business for over 5 years, I think is a pretty
That's a
big
pretty
one.
yes.
You know, the last 12 months, things have really started to take off. You know, I was in the Mercedes-Benz startup program, and I was the only menswear designer in that, and that's been a great platform to help raise my profile. So that was great. And then, you know, this year my sales are doubling, and my press and editorials are doubling. So it's like everything is kind of starting to take off now. So I'm encouraged about that.
What should every man have in their closet?
Well, I'd say a good fitting sports jacket is, you know, your most, you know, dynamic piece. You know, 'cause you can dress it up and dress it down, and you know, it's a very flattering piece. So I think that's the most important one.
Good. You mentioned about the, you know, a sports jacket. That's something that men should have in their closet.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes men make when it comes to their fashion choices?
Well, what you need to be aware of is that the most important factor is fit. So it doesn't matter how much something costs, or what the materials are, or even where it's made, or what quality it is. The most important thing is fit.
What would be your theme song and why?
Favorite song, Princes of the Universe. Sorry, not favorite song. My theme song, I'm going to go with Princes of the Universe by Queen.
But where else can people find you, or find your clothes, or?
My website is christopherbates.com, and at retail I'm at Got Style Menswear on Bathurst and Wellington, as well as their distillery location, and I'm at Channers in Waterloo.
Christopher, thank you again for letting us to get to know the man behind Christopher Bates, as well as you know, more about your great designs.
Thanks for having me.